Well friends, so we are discussing issues regarding migration and urbanization. In the there will be 3 lectures devoted to urbanization, and in the last lecture what I did, I just introduced the concept of urbanization. I defined the concept of urban and rural in general and using Census of India definition in particular. And then I also showed how sociologists like Kingsley Davis or Arriaga, they have measured urbanization. Urbanization in a simple terms was defined as percentage urban, or what percentage, what proportion of population is living in urban areas. But since all the urban areas do not have the same concentration of population, so it becomes important to attach a higher weight to populations of larger cities or bigger towns, and therefore, Kingsley Davis develops a different index of urbanization in which he adds population of cities or localities or towns of certain size and above. This way, he is able to give more weight to populations of larger cities and towns. Similar was the concept of Arriaga. So, these definitional issues we have already covered. I have also given you the concept of speed of urbanization. Then I said that assuming that difference in the rate of growth of urban and rural populations remains constant, it is possible to show that percentage urban follows a logistic growth model. So, United Nations developed a manual called Manual 8 to project population of urban areas and population of cities using logistic growth model, and they made certain tables of that. This happened when I was a student of population, when I was doing my diploma in IAPS. That time this UN Manual 8 had come, and we were so excited. Today these things may look very simple to you, but we were so excited that we projected population of urban and rural areas of districts of Maharashtra and population of cities of Maharashtra, which were subsequently used by government of Maharashtra, and 2 papers were published on the basis of calculations of cities and urban populations using the simply logistic growth model of United Nations. Now, today we will talk something specifically about India, though today again there will be some conceptual discussion regarding rank size rule and primacy, but I will try to give more information about India, because students, we as student of population or population and society in India must know about Indian situation. So, let us look at some census maps of India. I thought that I can begin with some census maps. These maps are given on the website of Registrar General India, and see some aspects of urbanization. The first map shows the distribution of million plus cities in India on the basis of 2001 census. Million plus means million is 10 lakh. So, these are the cities which have population of 10 lakh or more. And do you not see that these cities in India are highly concentrated in certain parts of the country? So, there is concentration around Bombay, Pune, Thane, this region. There are big cities, Chennai is a big city, Bangalore is a big city, Hyderabad, they are quite dispersed. There is a concentration of urban population or large cities in this part of the country, and you find that there is no large city here in western India. There is also no large cities of population 10 lakh and above in the 7 so called northeastern sisters. There is no large city in much of this area. Actually, why certain areas of India only have large cities? To explain that, we have to go into history of urbanization in India. That urbanization initially, before the British people came, 2 major sources or influences of urbanization were religious and political. So, you had either religious cities or religious towns like Varanasi, like Allahabad, Puri, or there were cities which were sort of capital, the ruling dynasties of that time. But gradually during the British period, the nature of urbanization changed, and urbanization became more connected with development and rise of port cities, which were used by colonial powers for the exploitation of hinterland of India. This also means that because the urbanization in India was shaped during last 200 years during British rule and after independence by sort of colonial policies and their aftermath. So, there is much better infrastructure or much better connection between cities rather than between cities and rural area. These are all interrelated issues. Let us just hurriedly look at some map. This is a map of wards of Delhi, and you can see that Delhi, which was originally situated along this river Yamuna, is gradually spreading in all directions and more towards Haryana side, Punjab side, and not so much towards UP side, because towards UP side you have another city Ghaziabad, and it is possible that with the new expressway more of Delhi will expand in this direction. It is possible. This is a map of slums. Interesting, you can see that slums have concentration in certain areas of city. The dark area, this and this dark area, this shows that part of Delhi where more than 60% population lives in slums, and this color somewhat yellow color and no color. This shows that the concentration of slum population is less. So, there are certain areas in which slums are concentrated and not the whole area of Delhi. That means there is a close connection between socio-economic conditions and morphology of city. This is another map I found it quite interesting, which shows how child sex ratio differs from one ward of Delhi to another. And these dark red areas are the areas where child sex ratio or juvenile sex ratio, means females to males ratio in age group 0 to 6 is below 100. These are the areas where we can assume that cases of sex determination and female feticide are more. There is no area in Delhi where sex ratio is above 1000. However, there is some small area here and some small area here where sex ratio is reasonably good, 950 to 999. Much of Delhi comes under this zone where sex ratio is between 850 and 899. This is another map. This is a map of Kolkata Municipal Corporation and its wards. You just have a glimpse of the geography of Calcutta or Kolkata. This shows percentage of slum population in Kolkata, and you find that again it is a definite area, much of this area where slums are concentrated, 60% or more people in these areas live in slums. And this white area, much of this is the recent extension of Kolkata that either does not have slums or the percentage of slums is very low, 15% or below. So, that again shows how socio-economic conditions and city morphology are correlated, and one needs to explain why slums are concentrated in certain pockets of city. This is another map. This is the map of Agra, and this map shows percentage of households by condition of houses, good and bad. Dark color shows that the houses are in good conditions, and lighter color shows that the houses are in bad condition, or like here it shows that the percentage of households which are good as defined by census, according to census definition of goodness of household based on amenities is between 0 and 25%. And these are the areas where you find that the percentage of good houses is less than 25, 0 to 25. And there are some areas, this big area where percentage of households in good condition is 75% or above. Usually the custom is not to show details of socio-economic or demographic condition for cantonment areas. So, cantonment area we have no information, and this is the Yamuna river. Interestingly, all good households are on one side of the Yamuna river toward this side, and in the upper part, means toward the northern part of Agra. So, what do these maps? These maps are only illustrative, and I am using these maps to convey that there is an uneven distribution of urban population in the country. For historical, socio-economic and developmental reasons, urban population of the country is not evenly distributed in all states or all regions. Second, that there are historical reasons behind this. Third, that the quality of life is connected with the city morphology. So, the quality of life is not samely distributed across all wards of a city, whether Delhi or Agra or Calcutta or any other city. Then the composition of population is also connected with the city morphology, and there is a greater concentration of slums usually at the heart of the city, old city. When we are discussing about urbanization in India, obviously the first question which will come to your mind is what is percentage urban in India and how this percentage urban has changed over time. So, let us look at this table first. This is the data from Indian censuses which shows level and trend of urbanization in India from 1901 to 2001. In the beginning of the last century, in 1901, only 10.8% of the population of India was living in urban areas. As I said last time, that these figures over the censuses, these figures are not exactly comparative, because the definition of census has changed several times. Yet, because much of the urban population is concentrated in very large cities and they are unaffected by definitional changes. So, the effect of change of definition is rather small, and you can broadly compare what is happening to level of urbanization. The level of urbanization was 10.8 in 1901 and it declined. In 1911 it was only 10.29, then it increased to 11.18, then 11.99, like this up to 1951, the first census after independence. Our level of urbanization remained below 18%. There is not much change between 1951 and 61. This is unusual period. This is the period affected by partition of the country, beginning of 5-year plans, stock taking. We are not sure even whether quality of data are comparable between 41 and 51. 41 census analysis was heavily affected by conditions of Second World War and quit India, and after that you find that the urbanization level is increasing, and the last census in 2001 gave us a figure of 27.81 exactly. That means, out of 100 people in India, 27.81 people were living in those localities which have been classified as urban, means which are the seats of local administration, and if not, then their size of population is about 5,000, 75% of the male labor force of them is engaged in non-agricultural activities, and the density of population is 400 per square kilometer. If you calculate the speed of urbanization, then you find that there is an erratic change. Sometimes speed of urbanization increases, sometimes it decreases. Except 1901 to 1911, the speed of urbanization is always positive, because the level is constantly rising. The highest speed before independence is for the period 1931 to 1941, where the speed of urbanization was 1.56% per year. After independence, 1951 census gave us a figure of 2.47 for speed of urbanization, and then it declined to 0.39 in 1961. One can argue that the government policies, 5-year plans, development planning, they are closely connected with the levels and speed of urbanization, and one can look for the causes of sluggish growth in urbanization between 51 to 61. Many economists maintain that the first 5-year plan and second 5-year plan were quite responsible for this, that in 61 you have only 0.39 as speed of urbanization, then it started increasing, and it went up to 1.72 in 1981 census, and again it has declined, and during the preceding census decade 91 to 2001, the speed of urbanization was only 0.82% per year. You can draw this conclusion that the major improvement in urbanization took place during 31 to 51 and 71 to 81. The period 31 to 51 was politically turbulent, and millions of people moved across border after the partition of the country into India and Pakistan. After that, the speed of urbanization has been slower and erratic. The last census showed that 27.8% of India's population was living in urban areas. It is customary to divide urban localities into a number of classes on the basis of population, class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Class 1 consists of cities with population above 100,000. Class 2 includes towns with population between 50,000 and 100,000. Class 3 towns with population 20,000 to 50,000. Class 4 10 to 20,000, and class 5 towns with population 5,000 to 10,000. If you compare states, then you find that the state of Goa has the highest proportion of urban population in India. Nearly half of Goa's population is living in urban areas, and the lowest level of urbanization is found in Himachal Pradesh, which had only 9.3% urban. Among the union territories, Delhi has the highest proportion of urban population. That goes without saying. You do not have to consult census. Anybody would say that Delhi is largely urban. But what is interesting, after seeing these figures, students of sociology must know, if you are not from Delhi, you may not be familiar with this, that Delhi also includes 7% rural population. So, whole of Delhi is not urban. In Delhi state also there is some population which is classified as rural, and about 7% population of Delhi consists of rural. Then Dadra and Nagar Haveli, they also have a low level of urbanization, 22.89. So, that means there are regional variations, and the first map which I showed regarding distribution of cities in India makes that very evident, that yes, cities are concentrated in certain parts, and there are many other parts, large parts of the country where cities or even medium sized towns are missing. More than half of India's population lives in class 1 cities. That is why the definitional changes do not affect the level of urbanization much, though they do a little bit, and nearly 1/3 in class 2 or class 3 towns. The share of towns with population less than 20,000 is rather small. You may also like to know something about large cities of India. There are some cities which are called 3 million plus cities. There are about 4,000 cities in India, and by definition city is an urban locality with population 100,000 or more. And among these 4,000 cities, there are 4,000 cities and towns in India, which includes urban areas of all classes, class 1, 2, 3, 4. And among these 4,000 cities and towns, means all urban areas, it is better to say urban areas rather than cities and towns, they cover all the urban areas. Among 4,000 urban areas in India, there are 300 cities which have population 100,000 or more. They are called class 1 cities. So, there are 300 class 1 cities in India. Among them, there are 7 cities which have population more than 3 million. 3 million means more than 30 lakh. So, the total number of urban localities in the country is 4,000. Among them, class 1 cities are 300 in number, and among these class 1 cities, there are 7 cities which have a population of 30 lakh and above. According to US Census Bureau, Mumbai ranks 3rd in the world after Tokyo and Mexico. Tokyo is the largest city of the world, Mexico follows, and after that comes Mumbai. Calcutta ranks 9th and Delhi 14th. So, we have two large cities in the country which are part of the top 10 cities in demographic sense, in sense of population. The names and populations of these 3 million cities are given in a table 7.2. Greater Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai, Ahmedabad and Hyderabad. There is a big difference between them. Greater Mumbai is 3 times the size of Hyderabad. Hyderabad and Ahmedabad are closer, and Delhi with 9.8 is almost approaching Greater Mumbai. It is possible that after some time, in a few decades, Delhi may become larger than Mumbai. Cities like Mumbai may not grow much in the future. 2011 census will tell us whether our expectation that rural to urban migration or rural to large city migration has stopped due to unfavorable conditions in urban areas on the negative side, and due to implementation of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Act in rural areas on the positive side. But Delhi is attracting migrants from all sides. Kolkata, some people say that Kolkata is a dying city, and the growth potential of Kolkata is not so much. So, it is Delhi now which is growing quite fast, being a capital city, secular city, providing lots of job opportunities in and around Delhi, in NCR region, in Haryana, in UP, in Punjab. Now, connected with this issue of population size of cities is the concept of city primacy. The cities with 3 million plus population draw our attention to the concept of city primacy. According to this concept, the share of largest cities is usually larger than expected under the theoretical law. What is that law? The law is that the product of a city's rank and its size tended to be constant. If you arrange cities in terms of size and you multiply their size by rank, then you get a constant. This is the rank size rule. The law is called the rank size rule. For depicting this rank size rule in demography or in statistics, Pareto curve has conventionally been used, that rank multiplied by size is constant, or size of a city is a constant divided by its rank. As the rank increases, size of city falls. Lotka for UK developed a similar equation, that rank into 0.93 into size of city is constant. Then in 1928 there was another development and it was suggested this log of rank expressed as log of a constant a minus alpha another constant into log of size depicts the rank size rule much better than the simple rank into size is equal to constant, or in other words rank can be obtained as a constant s divided by power alpha of the size of city. That means, if you arrange your cities and towns according to population and you find that the rank size rule is followed, then it means that the pattern of urbanization in your country is similar to the pattern expected on what basis? Expected on the basis of models developed in the western countries. That means, your urbanization follows the western pattern, and if your cities deviate, if the your cities do not follow the rank size rule, then it means there is something unique about urbanization and urbanize in India, and urbanization in India has to be explained in terms of colonial past and post colonial policies. There is a difference between city primacy and urban primacy. City primacy is defined on the basis of population in the largest city, while urban primacy is defined in terms of population in urban areas of size 100,000 and above. Actually, why this debate? Among sociologists writing on urbanization, Kingsley Davis is the most known name, and initially Kingsley Davis said that population and economic development are positively related, that urbanization leads to economic development and economic development in turn leads to urbanization, and it was expected that the relationship between development and urbanization would be of the same kind as it existed in the developed countries of today. But the experience showed that urban population in developing countries was increasing at much faster rate than urban population increase in today's developed countries when they were at the same level of urbanization. So, the concept of dual city, over urbanization, Soman came up with the concept of over urbanization, and for a long time Indian sociologists and demographers talked about over urbanization thesis, that urbanization in India is not so much the result of economic development, but it is more the result of rural to urban migration caused by unemployment, inequality, lack of job opportunities, lack of peace, lack of order, law and order, and lack of amenities in rural areas. Now, this primacy is significantly associated with development and urbanization. Left to itself, urbanization leads to urban primacy. Now, if you want to determine primacy empirically, then you have to fit the Pareto curve, the log of rank equal to log a minus alpha log size, which can be fitted, means values of capital A and alpha can be estimated using linear regression method, and by comparing the estimated population of largest city with the observed population, you can say something about primacy. In the same way, one can find what is the theoretical estimate of urban primacy. Now, causes of urbanization. Urbanization as such is caused by population concentration, increasing concentration in certain cities and towns. So, all those factors which change the distribution of population by size of locality lead to urbanization. In practice, it refers to growth of urban population in relation to rural population. One may say that urbanization is caused primarily by migration from rural to urban areas. This assumes that the natural growth, last time you had asked a question regarding components of growth of urban population, and I said that migration is not the only factor. Natural growth and migration, both these factors are important, and in case of India's urbanization in the recent past, both of them played an equal role, 50-50. 50% growth of urban areas was due to natural growth. Natural growth of urban area itself was quite high due to high fertility, and 50% was the contribution of migration. But now situation is changing. As the natural growth rate of urban areas has started declining, so the contribution of rural to urban migration is going to be much more than the contribution of natural growth. As a rule, natural growth and the rural to urban migration are two main sources. In addition, urban areas and city limits expand, and as time passes they tend to incorporate a few villages at the outskirts, leading to increase in urban population. This is called absorption of rural areas at the peripheral level. Sometimes urban population also grows due to graduation, means growth of population of localities which were classified as rural in earlier census, and due to natural increase or some other reasons, maybe migration in some particular cases, their population has risen above the threshold level and they have become urban. So, urbanization increases due to natural increase in urban areas, due to migration from rural to urban areas, due to absorption of hinterland, due to graduation of rural areas, and sometime little bit by definitional changes also. Therefore, whenever we analyze trend in urbanization, it is important to ask whether the definition of urban population has remained unchanged. So, these are the causes of growth of urban population: natural increase, migration, international and national, absorption, graduation and reclassification. According to sample registration scheme data in year 2008, the natural growth rate of urban areas is 12.6 per thousand, difference between birth rate and death rate, or 1.26%, while the natural growth rate of rural areas is 16.5 per thousand or 1.65%. These figures show that if rural to urban migration does not take place, or only a small amount of migration from rural to urban areas take place, then the level of urbanization will remain same, it will not increase. That India will not experience urbanization if there is only a small amount of rural to urban migration, because urban growth rate is much lower than the rural growth rate now. Perhaps that is one reason why the last census, means census of 2001, showed a declining rate of speed of urbanization, that as natural increase is declining, the same level of rural to urban migration will contribute less towards the growth of cities in relation to rural population. In absence of rural to urban migration, the level of urbanization in India is likely to decline. So, imagine that your Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Act is so successful that nobody wants to move from rural to urban areas. Then the percentage urban in India will start declining. It will not remain 27%, it can become 26%, 25%, 24%, but gradually as the differences in natural growth rates will be wiped out by demographic transition, then urbanization level will stagnate. In the future, we expect that the natural growth rate of rural areas will also change, producing a further change in components of urban population growth. Now, here is an interesting quote from Tim Dyson, London School of Economics. The most important contributory factor behind the growth of India's urban population during the past 5 decades has been urban natural increase, that is the excess of urban births over urban deaths. My preliminary estimates suggest that between 91 and 2001, at least 56% of the growth of India's urban population was due to urban natural increase. During recent decades, migration from rural to urban areas has been an important, but nevertheless secondary factor behind urban population. This is from Dyson in 2003. This will not apply to what is happening today. Today the situation is much changed. Now, one major problem in studying the causes of migration, so if this is so, if natural increase and migration are the major factors, and migration is going to determine the level of urbanization more and more, then we have to analyze why do people migrate. And one major problem in studying the causes of migration empirically is that it is difficult to measure migration. There are so many definitions of migration, some of which we saw when we were talking about migration in India earlier. Yet researches on the theme of migration show that several factors are important: factors operating at the place of origin, factors operating at the place of destination, push and pull factors, and awareness and evaluation of the factors of migration by individuals. There are also economic and psychological costs and possibility of assimilation at the place of migration. If the possibilities of assimilation are diminished due to rise of son of soil type of demand or identity politics, then it will affect the rural to urban migration. And then there are some individual level factors, of course. So, these are push and pull factors. I thought that I can produce this picture from UNFPA document, the last state of world population report, in which they are particularly talking about migration. You can see that this woman is migrating to urban areas because of push factors related to climatic condition, temperature change, natural calamity or flood, and she is looking for a safe and peaceful future in the urban area. There are various types of pull factors and various types of push factors. Pull factors include better work opportunities, equality, education, development, modernization, connectivity, living condition. In India, we also talk of certain pushback factors. Ashish Bose introduced the concept of pushback factors while analyzing 1991 census data, that there are lot of people in India who go from rural to urban areas with hope, but when they do not find their aspirations meeting in urban areas, or they find resistance, or they become dissatisfied, frustrated by migrating to urban areas, then they return back to rural areas. So, there is lot of pushback situation also in urbanization in India, and they are lack of expected employment, ethnic segregation, discrimination, greater vulnerability to various risks, poor quality of life, and exploitation. However, migration is not a simple function of pull and push factors. There are many other geographical and cultural factors. So, there are lots of factors in migration. It is not a simple function of pull and push factors. There are geographical regions, legal regions. For an example of legal regions is that you are not permitted to construct a house in Jammu and Kashmir. You cannot become a permanent. There are so many states, not only Jammu and Kashmir, there are so many states in which you cannot buy property. There are legal regions. Then there are personal or individual level factors. There are some people who by temperament are migratory, and there are some other people who are by temperament sedentary. So, that also makes a difference. One may argue for the future, one may argue that as the natural increase decreases, the growth rate of urban population may also decrease. So, we cannot assume that in the future level of urbanization will rise at faster rate, or it will definitely continue to rise. It depends on many things. If the rural development policies, and this NREGA is one, but there are so many other policies which are directly or indirectly affecting social development in rural areas, including National Rural Health Mission, Janni Suraksha Yojana, maternity benefits, pension benefits, old age security schemes. They are all going to affect the rural to urban migration by lessening push factors in rural areas. In this situation, India may achieve a high level of development without having a high level of urbanization. So, one can say that although urbanization and development are broadly connected, as our sociologist Kingsley Davis suggested in the beginning, but there is this relationship between urbanization and development has to be seen in a historical context. You may have economic development and no urbanization. Your economic development is based on the concept of rurbans, and decentralization of population, decentralized development may not lead to urbanization, or you may have urbanization due to demographic pressure and no economic development. So, there have been decades where we had rapid urbanization, which was not associated with rapid economic development. All kinds of possibilities are there. I am sure you have so many questions and comments in your mind. Please express your.
To take off from where you left regarding this development and urbanization issue, I feel that this is a comment, maybe a bit elongated one, but a comment on yesterday's and today's class as to how do we understand urbanization in India. I feel that I would term it as something that there is a demographic fix in the way in which we understand urbanization. Now, what I call is a demographic fix is that if urbanization is merely change in the increase of numbers of people residing in a certain place, if we have 5,000 people, then that's urban. If you have 2,000 people, then that's not urban. Now, if that is so, then urbanization sounds, I feel it's very kiddish, or a very lame, expression of urbanization, that the whole the number of people residing in an area defining an area to be urban and non-urban. So that is what I would say is called the demographic fix. Now, though as demographers we may be interested to see it in terms of numbers, but as sociologists we would be more interested about the sociological imagination, which starts with, because you were taking the way you started with urbanism as a way of life by Louis Wirth. Here I think that we need to see these two things, that when we read literature on urbanization in Western countries, it's more about the city countryside difference, and in India it's always, or developing countries, not only India, it's always the rural urban divide they talk about. So what brings me to mind is that the first one is not actually a difference, it's actually a continuum. It's not a contrast. The rural urban is a contrast. Now, why is it so? I feel that if we read Urbanism as a Way of Life of Louis Wirth again, the point is that the percolation of industrial gadgets or technological upgradation in Western societies was definitely much more than we have in developing countries. So the fact that you are using an electronic gadget doesn't matter whether you are in a city or the countryside. So they didn't find that as a difference whether they're in a city or the countryside. Hence, that desperation to go to fixed and concentrated centers of production was not there maybe in the Western countries, so it was like more diffused. And in India, it has unfortunately been, to use Ogban's idea, it has been an idea of, the whole idea of being rural or urban is a cultural lag concept. That way, the very fact that you have the city tied with dreams of economic emancipation and development is that you go to the city all of a sudden and you find all the goodies there. And later on you find that, okay, there are slumification of urban, and hence the whole idea of urban poverty, which we discussed later. But then I feel that is more important in this sense, because if you read literature on developing countries and urbanization, you find two types of classification. If you read the census and the government reports, you find all these classes, like you say class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cities. And if you read these private sector reports or the market reports or data monitor estimates, or the estimates by these rating agencies which deals on retail malls and all, they talk about tiring of cities. Now, what gives us an indication is that the classification on class based is population, and the basis of classification of tiring is infrastructural differentials. So you have only three, and then I found this very interesting table which you showed 7 cities. In India, which are actually
3 billion, 3 billion plus,
3 million plus cities.
3 billion, 3 million plus, yes.
Now, only 3 cities among them, that is Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore, are actually the tier 1 cities, whereas they will put all of 7 of them as class 1 according to this classification. Now, that is giving us an indication that the cities which are left out, say Kolkata, Chennai, Ahmedabad, and Hyderabad, and it is very evident that the amount of conservatism in these cities is very evident. So that means that the whole idea of secularization or informalism that we are talking about was more conducive in these cities, and hence helped them grow in that rate in terms of economic change, or maybe in that terms of cultural change. So I think these are some comments, and hence to sum it up, I would just say that urbanization in developing countries would be more about aping possession of gadgets, and yet without any corollary changes in social behavioral patterns. whereas urbanization in developed countries would be in the real sense of the term more as a way of life. But that would sound a very post-colonial hangover that, well, we are not urban. But I would say that Asian urbanization, if I can say it, Asian urbanization has a flavor of its own, where the whole idea of secularization is not about keeping the public and the private separate, but coming together with it. And hence the challenge that you showed, our problem is that we have only 7 million plus cities, and we don't have a number of mid-sized towns that they call. That's a real challenge. If you have a number of mid-sized towns are growing, then you can have no lopsided development, and that is what I think.
Yes,
sum up.
actually you have drawn my attention to a very important aspect of urbanization. This is true that I talk more of numbers, and I also realize that if you have to talk about urbanization, such a vast topic, in just 3 lectures, then you cannot do justice to many things. But one thing is very clear, as you rightly pointed out, that the nature of urbanization and writings on urbanization in developed countries are very different from the nature of urbanization or writings on urbanization in developing countries. Therefore, in developed countries you find that urbanization is seen more as a result of endogenous change, a spontaneous change, and therefore you could also talk of continuum, you could talk of rank size rule. I mentioned about rank size rule, diffusion, modernization, cities leading to modernization, secularization, continuum, and contribution of city to economic development. You could talk about urbanization in these terms in the developed countries. When it comes to developing countries, then urbanization in developing countries is seen more as a result of colonial past, and quite often the relationship between rural and urban areas is posited as though it is conflicting and is exploitative. Some of you may have read that Lipton's thesis book on rural urban conflict. Even our 11th 5-year plan document in inclusive growth talks about rural urban conflict. It says that we are developing fast, but the benefits of development are not reaching rural areas, and certain types of developments have actually had adverse effect on development of rural areas. So, in less developed countries we see development and urbanization more as a result of colonial past, exploitative, and so also over urbanization with primacy without rank size rule, with city primacy of some large cities, or primacy of some large urban localities. And there is also some writing on how cities in India are infected with communal virus. Cities, in place of leading to modernization, or in place of becoming a source of diffusion of new ideas and secular ideas, actually many of our cities are infected with communal virus, and whenever communal riots start, they start from you can point out a small number of cities from where they start. So, then over urbanization, dual city concept, a large proportion of slum population, poor quality of life in urban areas, and people using the term rurban in a pejorative sense for urban areas of India. This is a very different kind of depiction of urban areas than that exists in the developed countries. You are very much right. If we had time, then we could have spent more time on this issue.
So, if you just give us some clarification about this
Yes.
Concept you gave about rank size rule.
Yeah.
Like you said that it's a product of a city's rank, and it's, I mean, do you think this rank size?
Actually, this rank size rule is also associated with what you said about urbanization in the developed countries. When urbanization in developed countries increases, then it follows a definite pattern, which is the result of the context of development there, industrialization, economic development, migration, and it was found, as I have given some references, in 20s and 30s, it was found that in developed countries, if you arranged cities of developed countries according to their size, then a kind of rank size rule develops, means some pattern emerges. There is a pattern. There is a pattern that emerges in urbanization in developed countries, which is due to the fact that this is part of endogenous change there, forces of industrialization, economic development, modernization, and maybe evolution or differentiation or what. So, there is a pattern, and that pattern can statistically be expressed in the form of rank multiplied size equal to constant. So, you could express size of a city in terms of rank, some constant divided by rank. But in case of developing countries like India, it has been found that there is city primacy, means there are some cities which are some cities or population of urban areas in towns and cities of size 100,000 and more is much larger than what the rank size rule would show. So, the rank size rule more number of people than the rank size rule shows. That means, as compared to developed countries, our urban population is more concentrated in some of the large cities. That is why it becomes a dichotomous and exploitative and exclusive kind of situation, urban rural conflict that leads to so urban areas in place of becoming a source of change become a source of exploitation of rural area. This is what it means. We do not have rank size rule. It means that we have more primate city. There may be one primate city or there may be two or more primate cities which have population larger than what the rank size rule would permit, and that is because of exogenous nature of development and urbanization in the country. You also find that it is not those cities in India which have had a traditional religious or political base which have expanded in the recent past. Those cities have expanded in the recent past which are either part of colonial policies of exploitation of hinterland or which are connected with administration of states in post independence period. So, our Varanasi, Delhi, Badrinath, it is not these cities which are expanding, or it is not even Agra which is expanding so fast. It is Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, capital cities or cities which rose due to Englishman's policy of development of this country leading to exploitation, which are expanding fast. You can ask one more.
Sir, could you reflect, you talked about migration, and you just gave this interesting idea about with the trend of development that you have in the country, if it was manufacturing sector which was there in post pre-1991, some cities got an impetus, post 1991 service sector and some other cities get an impetus. There's maybe something on that.
You're right.
And this migration, when you talk about migration, we in cities come into mind two streams of migration. One is this white collar migration, and is the blue collar migration. So, if you could, and that invariably has an impact, has cultural implications on the cosmopolitan nature of the city. You could just reflect something on that.
This is true. This is true that in the recent past, it is not the manufacturing sector as such, but the service sector which is increasing. This is also true that the employment which is of regular type and in organized sector, that has declined. As such, organized sector employment has increased, but in organized sector irregular employment or contractual work has expanded. Also, it is self employment or employment in service sector which is increasing, if there is any increase in employment in cities. And therefore, the composition of urban population is changing fast. When people went to large industrial plants or to become part of bureaucracy, when they got clerical positions, section officers position or administrative positions at various levels, they were more educated, more modern, more ambitious. And now, when self employment is expanding or contractual jobs are expanding, then you find more employment in the more migration of people from illiterate group or semi educated group or laborers. You find more migration of laborers in these areas. In terms of socio-economic indicators, they belong to lower caste and class of India's population. When these people of lower caste, lower class, lower awareness, lower skills, manual either they have manual work or semi skilled work, when these people are coming to urban areas, then obviously they will carry a very different mindset than the mindset of people who came to cities 20 years ago. So, you are right that the changes in migration, changes in employment policies, changes in development and changes in the composition of migrants will have a bearing upon the quality of population. Institutional patterns, segregation, aspirations, modernity, secularism, social capital, network making, everything will be affected. Thank you.